Thank you for tuning in to the Brent Usry Show, the broadcasters in your area in voluntary cooperation with the FCC, CIA, FBI, and other state and local authorities have developed their systems to keep you down, confused, and taking their drugs in the event of fake emergencies. We are currently under the emergency of monkeypox. And what does monkeypox mean? Well, it means now that we have a national emergency, the federal government can start stealing money from you. Yes, it's called having emergency funds if needed. And now they have them. And so what are they going to do with them? Who knows? But I'll tell you what, they sure like to have it. So, prepare for the taxes. They are on their way. But what I'd like to talk to you about right now is that the House of Representatives has currently passed the most restrictive gun law that has ever been passed in this country. Pretty much, they've abolished every gun that ever existed. Not just the AR-15, not just the AK-47, although you think, oh, this is going to stop crime. It's a assault weapon. Well, the word assault weapon was created to scare you so that you would try to beg them to ban it. There's no such thing as an assault weapon that's legal. Assault weapons are machine guns, and they've been illegal since the 30s in this country. That's the 1930s, not the upcoming 2030s. Not the Great Reset, although they're trying to bring the Great Reset in, and the way you do that is you eliminate everybody's ability to make a decision. You take away all guns so nobody puts up any resistance, and then they control you. And then they try to start out by controlling the food supply. So, if you don't want to be controlled, then you don't want this Gun Control Act that they just passed. It probably will not make it through the Senate, but if it does, I'm sure there's plenty of rhinos still in the Senate, then for sure Joe Biden will run right up and sign it. Although, I'm pretty sure it'll get immediate lawsuits, and the Supreme Court will eventually side against it. Thank goodness for all of the conservatives that Donald Trump put on the board. Not the board, what is it? The court. The Supreme Court. That's the one great thing that came out of the Trump administration, was adding conservatives to the Supreme Court. That's the only reason the country's heading in the right direction right now. It certainly isn't because of our illustrious president and his ridiculous policies that have caused your massive high gas prices. And if by chance a Democrat is listening, I don't have too many Democrats who listen to me. But if a Democrat is listening, just realize that it's the party of laws and big government that you're involved in. And if you like the prices at the gas pump, keep voting Democrat. And if you want to have a little bit more money left over for you and your family, then give up that whole concept about I'm a lifelong Democrat. Because if JFK was alive today, he would be the most conservative Republican in Congress. So just keep that in mind, because most of you are Democrats because your mom was a Democrat and your dad was a Democrat, but your dad and mom were Democrats because of JFK. And remember, they killed him. Okay, so he got killed, and now you're still Democrats. It's time to be conservatives. It's time to become a Republican. And I'm not saying the Republican Party is the greatest thing in the world, but you know what? You go join your third party, it'll go nowhere. Okay, we got a two-party system. You're either on the good guys or the bad guys. Come on over to the bright side. Get off the dark side. So anyways, this new Gun Control Act that they passed pretty much outlaws every single gun and makes it illegal to own them now, and gets rid of 15-round magazines, because there's no such thing as clips. They call them clips. But a clip is a completely different thing. They're 15-round magazines, and don't listen to Joe Biden when he says, "Why do you need a 15-round magazine? You think the deer is wearing Kevlar?" Because the Founding Fathers did not add the Second Amendment into the Constitution because they were talking about deer hunting. There's nothing in the Second Amendment about deer hunting. That was about fighting with Britain. That was about having a war with the current government. And the Declaration of Independence says that if this country that we are starting here ceases to fit the needs of the people, it should be overthrown again. So the reason these communists that have currently grabbed hold of our country want to eliminate guns is not because they care about you, because if they did, they would want you to have a gun, because the average response time of the police is 10 minutes. The average time to kill somebody is about 20 seconds. So you're not going to be saved by the police. The police show up with a mop bucket and they have a crime scene and they play their little game and then they mop it all up. You're in the ground and they forget all about you. The only way you're going to stay alive is to defend yourself. That's why the Second Amendment is in the Constitution. It has nothing to do with deer hunting. So don't say, I don't need an assault weapon. I don't hunt deer. Well, guess what, deer? You need whatever you need to protect yourself, because as soon as somebody starts shooting at you, if you don't have a gun, you're dead. That's all I have to say about gun control. Now let's talk about freedom of speech and how it's under fire. Okay, I don't know what you think about Alex Jones. Sometimes he seems way off the deep end. I have never really been a big fan of InfoWars, but there's sometimes, people think he looks like Bill Hicks, and Bill Hicks vanished about the time that Alex Jones shows up. So there's another conspiracy theory out there that Bill Hicks is actually Alex Jones, or Alex Jones is actually Bill Hicks. Now, whether or not that's true, who knows? But Alex Jones has just been fined $50 million that is being paid to the families of the victims of, Newcastle, Connecticut. And, yeah, he said some pretty off-the-wall stuff. But let's not go out there and say, yeah, that's fantastic. He needs to shut up. Because just realize they did not come up with a law now. They didn't come up with a precedence against Alex Jones. They made a statement, and the Sandy Hook parents are now rich. However, what was taken away is your freedom of speech, because the First Amendment gives you the right to say whatever you want. It doesn't have to be accurate. It doesn't have to be true. If accurate statements were required, or you go to jail, most of you would be in jail. And certainly every babbling homeless person walking down the sidewalk high on crack would be in jail. The fact is, this country was built on the ability to say stupid things, and you don't have to be right, okay? Because it all gets figured out in the debate. There's not a matter of, well, we need to figure out whether he's saying what's true, because then we decide who plays God, who decides what's true. Are we gonna, maybe Joe Biden should appoint somebody, a ministry of truth. That's a good idea. Oh, he already did that. Isn't it amazing that he comes out with his ministry of truth about 3 months before the Alex Jones $50 million settlement? Now it puts out a precedence that you have to only say what's true. And who's going to decide what's true? And I believe that's going to be the Ministry of Truth under Joe Biden. Well, if that's true, then everybody listening to this broadcast is probably going to be found with inaccurate statements, because I would say most people that listen to me are conservatives. And if you're a conservative, then the Biden administration and all the lefties and liberals, they hate you. And they want to make everything you think, everything you say, and everything you believe illegal. Also, that wipes out your church, pretty much everything you do and everything you know. So just a moment to tell everybody about what's going on. I got to get back on the road. I'm in Central Texas right now, and I've got the engine running while I'm doing this broadcast. If you hear a little rumble in the back, and that's because my button, if you were listening the other day, my button went out on my starter, and I'm heading up the street here to a Freightliner dealer where there's a button waiting for me to exchange. Right now, if I turn my vehicle off, it won't come back on. So if you're wondering why the rumble's on, that's because if I turn my truck off, it's not coming back on. So anyways, this has been the Brent Usry Show, Monday morning. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for participating, and I'll see you soon. Have a great day.